Okay, so for design, so as I've said, there are two aspects that we need to examine if you focus on design. First is if you want to build new systems, you have to request for proposals. And if you purchase a similar system, you have to request for quotation from other organizations that will probably develop the information systems. So during design stage, in building an information systems, different proposal might be taken up to be able to design, or this may define the standard processes or the standard design that will be followed by the team in designing the system. And also it is very important for during the development stage, the IS editor will focus on the test plan. We will look at test, unit testing, integration testing, and system testing. And finally, the final acceptance testing, which is intended for the user perspective testing. So we look at how the unit testing will be conducted. So unit testing will focus on the individual programs that you will be doing, while the integration testing, unit testing will also be included as one module, and integration testing will be combining two modules connected. Although if they are working together as two different modules, you have to test whether they are compatible or they are working together. And the systems testing is actually the overall testing of the system, and we have a list of, as I scanned kanina, we have a list of systems testing that we need to look at before doing the final acceptance test. So for different system testing, sometimes we do recovery testing. So what if the systems will crash for the tooling? And the security testing will test different security systems that might be integrated or might be part of the information systems. We also need to test the volume testing, meaning how many possible number of users that the volume, or at the same time the number of data that can be accommodated by the system, which is very related to stress testing, the maximum system traffic that the networks or the system can accommodate. And lastly, the performance testing. The performance testing sometimes is hard to evaluate without benchmarking with other systems. So it's important to look at all the other systems and compare it to others in performing the performance testing. So one important aspect of being an IS auditor is to look at controls. What aspects can we look at into the system that will ensure that the input to the system is really correct? So part of the systems development, you have to evaluate as an IS auditor if the input controls is appropriately implemented into the program or the system. So we define input controls as procedures that must ensure that every transaction to be processed is received, processed, and recorded accurately and completely. This control should ensure that only valid and authorized information is inputted and that these transactions are only processed once. Okay. Sometimes IS auditor also will suggest input controls to the existing systems if we observe that it has a concern or problem or issues. For example, one instance that we can give example for this case for input controls is inputting salary. If we know that a certain person has the salary, you can put an input controls that will limit the input into maximum number. So for in this case, example, if we set that the salary of that person is only 25,000, you can put some input control that will determine if the inputted value is greater than 25,000 and automatically disallow that input to the system. And usually these are pre-programmed checking of inputs into the system, so that this is also to minimize the errors or human errors in inputting the system. So in input controls, we also look at the data validation systems that is implemented. As information systems auditor, if you will look at input controls, we will also focus on validation to ensure that the input is actually correct. So what are the data validation strategies and mechanisms conducted by organization, or you as an IS auditor will look at Number one is check. This is normally, for instance, the receipt number. So if you have a receipt, normally you will put a sequence such that each sequence cannot be skipped. So that this way, the transactions in sequence must ensure that each transactions follow a sequence. I think this will also determine if there are illegal transactions that will happen. Second is limit check. That means we will limit the number of input within the system. So there are cases that transactions will have any limitations, so you have to ensure that in data validation. Third is range check. This is normally a simple idea of having to check possible acceptable values. For instance, if you will put an attribute age, you will put a range such that you will not accept negative numbers. Okay, this is out of range values. Validity check, this is usually enforced in templated or standard format numbers inputted in the system. For instance, if you will see SSS number or TIN, there are already valid number of digits that can be inputted to the system. So you have to determine that you check if the system as an iOS editor, actually our role is to verify that this is really implemented within the system to ensure that our input controls is properly implemented. Completeness check, so these are checking mechanism if the system has implemented whether to check required values, and this is common for if this is a web-based system. Normally this is already default. We have to check or to identify and provide a mechanism in a program that will check whether a certain values has been inputted for those required values. Duplicate check. So there are two instances for checking this one, but the common one is transaction based. So if you have, for example, in sequence check, sequence, you have two sequence that inputted the same values but different sequence now, you might determine this as a duplicate check. That means you to avoid duplicate data within rows of data. So that means you have to input to put the validation that in your system. I think this is the same slide. Okay, so input controls. So input controls ensures ensures that input controls are properly implemented. How about output controls? Yes, we have also output controls. This is to provide assurance that the data delivered to the users will be presented, formatted, and delivered in a consistent and secure manner. So output controls, we have to do something like print out the access in Office only. Print out is that you have to double check that the printed output of the system is actually the same with the existing in the system. If you're an iOS editor, you might randomly select some printed copies and then verify if they have the same values in your software. So that's the way that sometimes auditor will verify whether there is an output that if whether the outputted system is in consonance or with the same values with the existing one. Access in Office only, these are values that very restricted, that we don't want somebody to bring out of the office. So we have access in Office only. That means that data is only visible within the campus, for instance, or within the company's lab. So this is to limit the values that will be inputted, or limit the values that is accessible within a certain location or a certain number of users. So sometimes this is access controls, and sometimes this is also referring to the actual location or geographical location of the area. So lastly, we have implementation. Implementation can be equivalent to change over in project management or related program implementation. So the target here is to convert or to change the information system or programs implemented in the organization from the old one to new one. So there are three different systems changeover techniques that some organizations implemented. Number one is parallel changeover, second is phase changeover, and third, abrupt change. But when you look at these changeover techniques, you have to consider the cost associated and the risk associated with the conversion from old to new system. So each of these cases we will look at in the succeeding slide. So for parallel changeover, this is an example of parallel changeover. So sa parallel changeover, you have to implement the old and new system at the same time. So this is a period of time wherein an organization will implement the system at the same time. So these are systems that can be implemented at the same time. So for instance, in an example I placed here, self-checkout and checkout with staff. So if you're implementing in a grocery system or small size store, if you want to implement a self-checkout system, so you can run the system and check out with staff. So that means there is a cashier, existing cashier, and you put also a kiosk that will allow companies like individuals to self-checkout. So that's an example of an parallel changeover. You introduce the new system, but the old system is still running, and you will only remove the old system once you see that the new system implementation is already running good. What we look at here is that the cost and risk. So if you look at the cost, there is a higher cost in implementing this one, while the risk is lower risk. So, what is the limitation here is the resources needed. Of course, we will not remove the existing system but to add one. That's why our limitation is resources. Second is phase changeover. The assumption of this one is that your system can also be divided into modules such that implementation can be divided into different aspects of major divisions, such as for this one. I illustrated that the system has modules 1, 2, 3. You will only implement the module 1 and it can actually be implemented within the existing system, and that's good. So what are the costs associated with here? So if you look at the cost, the cost would be almost the same, although quite higher, but this is normally it's not very concerned. The second is the risk. The risk here is based on the cost actually, and the risk is based on the module interactions. How many times the module 1 and module 2 interact or access with each other? So the limitation here, if there is a separation of modules, so that is good. But if there is no separation of modules, the phase changeover is not a good idea. Okay, so the last one is abrupt changeover. Abrupt changeover is the sudden removal of the old system and implementation of the new one. And to tell you honestly, there are systems that require this one, that you have to remove the existing one and replace the new one. So here I place here high risk but low cost. So high risk shock can, what if the new system will fail? And the second cost is of course low cost because you remove the existing system. And the consideration here is the replacement of the new system. Is it possible to replace automatically the entire system at once? So you have to think of that before adopting this change mechanism. So during the post-implementation or evaluation also, make sure that the system meets the user requirements. So we have expectation, requirements, and user comments and costs. This is what we're looking at as an IS auditor. We'll look at this one. And how to conduct this one is actually we do conduct interviews, questionnaires, or social media related accessible tools for users. One way I introduce is how to conduct, because it is a common practice that we will conduct a survey actually once the systems developed has been done, especially in your thesis. And we do this, it can be done during interviews and questionnaires so that we can evaluate whether the system is okay or not. But here, last one is that the person to review the system, who is the appropriate person to review the system? Number one is those who are not involved in the development phase. That's the good strategy for reviewing the system. So we will interview those who are not involved in the development phase, and then the appropriate post-evaluation or evaluation stage or assessment is after 3 to 6 months of deployment. So normally, exception in your first phases, because we need to evaluate immediately after evaluating this, after implementing the development of the system. We consider that as user acceptance testing rather than the actual post-implementation assessment of the system. To review the role of IS auditor during the planning stage, you have to review the feasibility study. For the analysis part, you have to review the requirements and verify, and also you have, during analysis actually, I forgot to tell you earlier, that during the requirements, we need also to determine the team members who are the teams that will be involved for this one, because this will be an input also for our design stage. Because if there's no team that will work on this one, so you have to opt for maybe selection process during the implementation phase. So you have to, on the design stage, you have to review the design techniques, then request for quotation and request for proposal. So these are two aspects that we need to design, which is the identification of team or team approval during the analysis stage is very important input for the design, whether you have to request for quotations or request for proposals. Okay? And on the last fourth stage, which is the implementation, is we have to check on the task plans, the user acceptance, and review test results. That means we will examine physically or based on the documentation, the team whether we perform tests and what are the tests that we perform during the system test. Because if not, you will retest that system testing if the system will work or not. And lastly, the maintenance part is check the objective and the developed system, review the change, and request for error log. So what we're doing here is that we might, during the maintenance stage, as an auditor, you will check what's the mechanism of the existing user to report problems. This is an important aspect for the improvement or verification during the post-implementation or after 3 to 6 months of implementing. We will review the errors reported by the system and what remedy the development team or the organization can do to avoid these problems. So I think that's all. The discussion for this lecture will be on the chat group module or on the Facebook page. Good day.